What I'm worried about is if we don't take reins here and build a technology that's good for us, because again, we're less than 2% of the House of Medicine. So when technology is built, we're not the first people that the technologists or the hospital are thinking about.
Welcome to the Learn Skin podcast with me, Dr. Raja.
And me, Dr. Hadar, where we discuss all things skin.
Join us as we delve into the art and science of skin health in today's episode.
Hey, Raja, can you say the thing I told you to tell them?
Of course. We are board-certified dermatologists. This podcast is meant for educational and informational purposes only and is not considered medical advice, nor does it serve as a substitute for professional care by a doctor or other qualified medical professional. All opinions shared do not express the views of Learn Health, Inc. Let's get to the good stuff.
Hey, Raja, how are you today? Oh no, Raja is not here. Again, he's on a mission to count the warts on the back of turtles in Hawaii. Well, Raja, good luck on your mission. As you're over there, we're going to stay focused here on dermatology. And folks, thank you for chiming into this episode of the Learn Skin podcast. And today I want to talk about something that's really been bugging me. Everybody's talking about AI, artificial intelligence, and I'm not sure what it exactly means and how it really comes into our practice of dermatology. So I figured I'll invite a guest who probably knows everything and then some there is to know about dermatology and AI. And it is my absolute pleasure to have with us here Faranak Kamangar, who is a board-certified dermatologist in Palo Alto. She's the founder of this cool thing called DermGPT, and she'll tell us all about it. And as a side gig, if that's not enough, she also serves as the chair for the San Francisco Dermatological Society. Faranak, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Hadar. It's great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. And I kind of mentioned that you founded a company with interest in AI, so perhaps you can tell us how you got into this, because what came first, like computer, dermatology, what came first?
All of the above. So I actually went into engineering in undergrad and then found it really boring to not be able to talk to people very much, and as you're in basement coding. So then that really took me into more the pre-med route. And so I was computer science, ended up taking a bunch of pre-med courses, and then just kind of opened up the catalog at my school. Back then things were on paper, and was like, I guess that'll get me a biotech engineering degree. So that was sort of the journey back then. But then when I started medical school, I was also still consulting for tech companies, and I was in health tech when it wasn't really cool. I would kind of talk about my projects with attendings on rounds, and they were like, yeah, that's, not going to change what we do. Now coming full circle, this kind of niche thing that I've always been interested in and kind of been in rooms where technology was discussed is kind of cool now. So it's exciting for me because it's an area that we haven't given full focus to. But I would say, as we all know, in the past 10 years or so, even if technology wasn't in the forefront, it was definitely in our background, changing how we practice, burning people out, driving some people crazy. So it's been there lurking, but I think now it's kind of a cool combination of everything's kind of coming around, and then the technology has gotten to a level where the physicians can really kind of take ownership of some of it. Like in the past, you had to really hard code things, whereas now really, if you're the subject expert, the domain expert, that's really the skill needed, and then the peripheral skills to make the technology so much easier. So it's kind of an interesting time, I think, in health tech and medicine.
And I love what you said about taking ownership. Maybe we'll get back to it a little later. So you did dermatology residency, as one does, after being an engineer. Why not? Let's just go into dermatology. So we're going to skip that, assuming that was so easy, right? And then when do you note that there's a shortcoming in your practice where technology can actually help?
Yes, yeah. So, as a resident, I did my resident a long time ago at UC Davis in dermatology. And so you're really focused around just learning everything derm. And you're kind of peripherally seeing the attendings doing stuff on Epic, but you're pretty much just kind of writing notes, and you're trying to write the notes in this perfect academic way. And then it's kind of the falsified scenario. And then you go straight into practice. And about 11 years ago, when I joined the Palo Alto Medical Foundation, which is like a large, multi-specialty center where you have the 30 plus, patient day. And then you really quickly realize what a barrier, technology is. I mean, you read those papers where they talk about ambulatory doctors like us, like for every 8 hours of patient facing time, we're spending 5 hours on the computer. And then you really learn that truth. You're on the notes, you're on the in
Yeah.
basket messages, the prior auth stuff. And you just realize, like, when you add clinic, that adds this exponential extra time. So it quickly, the time management of it all really becomes like very real. Then on top of that, throughout some point, then I had 3 kids too. So then you really start to fine tune, because even early career,
Every
I was
second counts. Yeah.
every second counts. Because even early career, for a few years when the kids weren't on the scene, I was still kind of messing around. Like, I'd sit there for 2 hours and work on Epic and didn't think about it too much. And then life happened and I was like, oh my God, I have no time, right? So then you
Right.
really start to audit the time, which, long story short, was my realization of, like, we got to do the technology piece better.
Well, I really want to get into it because you are leading me to think, okay, technology is a barrier, but technology can also be freeing, and now the doctor can own their craft all of a sudden. How have we changed from technology being a barrier to technology kind of freeing up the dermatologist to do what they want to do?
Yeah, so that's what I'm really excited about now. Like with EHRs or different models, they were very engineer led, and then engineers talking to the stakeholders who often weren't physicians. They might have been administrators or people on the billing side. So the tools weren't targeted for us. It wasn't targeted at, okay, we all have weren't sitting in one room. Our mission is to make that doctor's day the fastest possible, right? Like, that wasn't the goal of some of this technology that was developed. But then now with generative AI, I think it's one, the technology can keep up with our speed. The scary thing is that it's faster than us, actually. So it's not a technology that slows us down, but it can keep up with us. But we can create a lot of it, and we should be. It's another one of those inflection points. If we don't, and we kind of fall into those old patterns where technologists develop, a lot of it, and those are well-meaning people, but they just kind of don't know what we need in clinic. So if we don't really take control, I think it's going to go cyber speed, either in the right way, or cyber speed right in the
Right.
wrong way if we're not involved.
Yeah, and I think one of the cool things that I'm starting to learn about AI is that it actually does free you, because the ability to create new technology is now really the ability of any citizen. You can really program stuff to your needs. So, but before we get to that, I don't want to get ahead of the basics. So, for those of us on this planet who've never heard about AI, can you help us understand, like, give us a basic definition, some kind of vocabulary that we need in order to understand the discussion that's about to unfold?
Yeah, absolutely. So, basically, artificial intelligence, we're trying to get a machine to do what humans can do. And machine learning, and artificial intelligence, these things have been around for some time. But the reason they've been so hot in the past few years is because of the generative technology. So, before the GPT and OpenAI released the GPT APIs, and we had generative AI, old machine learning cost a lot of money to create. So you'd have to be in these big companies, millions and billions of dollars, because you were teaching the machine one thing at a time. I kind of equate it to like how a human baby learns language. If a baby was to learn one word at a time by us just sitting there and feeding them the word, they wouldn't really be able at like 18 months or 2 years old to kind of talk back to us and be a little bit sassy. So they're looking around the world and they're learning and they're inferring. And that's really what that generative AI piece is. Like, they're teaching themselves, they're watching stuff, they're watching interactions, and they're filling in details. So generative AI teaches itself, basically. So that's why it's been just this exponential increase in intelligence, but then also this democratization. So decreased cost of development of these models. Like, for example, like, our DermGPT, our large language model, it basically started with me and then went to like a team of 2 and 3, and now there's 4 of us. But basically, we've created a model that, by some studies, like derms have done some outside of our team, they've done some reviews where they preferred the answer to even chat GPT. So that's kind of a crazy thing where a group of like 2 or 3 people, one of them being a full-time, working dermatologist with 3 kids, can create a type of technology that can go toe to toe and in a single domain. I mean, ChatGPT can beat us in every other domain, but in a single domain of dermatology, it can go toe to toe with a giant technology like that. So that's the power of generative AI. It's really changed who can build. It comes down to really solving the problem. The technology to build the technology around it has become almost like commoditized to the point where you don't need to be at, Microsoft with billions of dollars to do it anymore.
Okay, that sounds definitely promising. So let's talk now about DermGPT, what it is, and then I think that will maybe move our discussion a little forward because I do have some other questions about AI. But let's use DermGPT as a case study to understand what AI can do for us. So, can you give us the sales pitch? So, what is DermGPT? What can it do for the average dermatologist?
Yeah. Actually, that's actually a good place to kind of even continue the discussion of kind of like what lies under the umbrella of AI. So within dermatology, there's kind of 2 big categories that get talked about a lot. One is sort of the image related, like the diagnose the melanoma type of AI that we're hearing about, where there's different
Right.
devices and things coming out. And then there's the category of language models or large language models, which are mostly text based. We have image upload as well, but really, like in DermGPT, we're not trying to look at everyone's moles and diagnose a melanoma. What we're trying to do is language based work. Because what I was most interested in is how do we make the dermatologist's day easier? And the tasks that we do are language based. It's note taking, it's patients sending us messages that sometimes are like 3 paragraphs long. We have
Right.
prior authorization paperwork. We have patient handouts that need to be adjusted per patient and per reading level, and per interest. So we have a lot of hours we spend on text-based information. And then the big difference is the text-based large language models are excellent because the foundations are these models like OpenAI and Anthropic, where they've taken all the text in the world and on the internet and everything, and they've created these models. Whereas if you go to, let's say, like an image-based model that's trying to diagnose melanoma, for example, these databases of like moles and dysplastic nevi and everything, they're growing, but again, they are not in size anywhere near the data size that the large language models have been built on. So intuitively, just large language models are just at a further step than image-based
Yeah.
models are, and they're solving different problems. I think for me in clinic, it would be maybe cool to play around with an image-based thing and see if I got it right for melanoma or dysplastic nevi. But what I really need is to cut down that extra 5 hours that I'm
Yes.
spending, on the computer. So that's probably a long answer, but that's basically what
No, that's
DermGPT is, and we have lots of agents behind it to make it, sound more accurate, and we have more parameters to the point where we've kind of told it to, if you don't know, don't make up an answer or don't say it. Whereas the larger models like ChatGPT or Claude, they're meant to be kind of nicer to you to the point where they just want to say something so you keep the
right.
chat going in a way.
Yes.
And we've set it up differently where we're almost okay not being awesome all the time, but we want to be correct all the time. So,
Yeah,
or
that sounds
most of the
like
time.
that sounds like my students when I go and ramble on, and they would just want to be nice to me. But sometimes you need someone to tell you, "Hey, shut up." Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Right.
you
Right.
use the term here that I want to clarify for the audience. Use the term agent, and we hear that a lot. AI agent. What does that mean?
Yes, yeah, that's a really good differentiator too. So a couple of years ago, we really differentiated in trying to build agents. So agents are basically it's AI that's doing something for you. So a lot of the kind of medical large language models out there kind of went and got a bunch of articles from PubMed and the big journals and said, great, we have this big repository and you can just ask questions and articles will come up. And that's a good one use case that's interesting, especially if you're maybe a researcher or a medical student trying to research things.
Right.
But in clinic, we might have 1 or 2 instances in a week, but a lot of what we do is kind of routine where we might not be searching on PubMed. So what we really need is
Right. So
workflow.
like diagnose psoriasis or give an instruction on how to treat a wart. right? That kind of
Exactly.
stuff.
Yep. Yep. So really what we need is like workflow things like do this for me, help me write this prior auth letter, or help me craft this patient handout, or help me with this note. So in that way, you need agents behind the system who understand who you are, what you're trying to do, and help you along. It's almost like you could
Got
almost,
it.
agent yourself if you put the most perfect prompt in. If you put in like a 3-4 paragraph prompt of explaining exactly what you need to do and what you need the LLM to do for you. But what we do on the back end is we basically agentify a simple prompt. Like somebody could put in one sentence, but we know what they mean by that. So the agents
Right.
apply, and the agents know which agents to call. So we have
Right.
kind of a multi-agent layer to basically get your task done accurately and make it pretty high value for you. And then we also have some safety agents called, like, one of our main ones is called Derm Guardian, where it comes in and kind of like flags things. It's like, wait, are you sure you didn't miss this? It has kind of diagnoses flags, but also medical legal flags, things like that as well.
Got
So
it.
the agents are, and this is, we're talking about dermatology, but in other instances, like outside of dermatology, you might have an agent that goes and shops for you, or, and this is kind of
Books
crazy.
flights for you,
Books
right?
flights for you. Exactly. It's just
Okay.
basically AI that's doing some work for you. They're like little worker bees.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So this is really cool. So I want to summarize now for our audience. So it sounds to me like you took this AI technology and you created this tool that folks can bring into their clinic and say, okay, uh, I guess upload it or get a login that you have into this website, and that integrates with your clinic somehow. And now, if I see a patient with psoriasis, I can say to the AI, "Hey, I've just diagnosed a patient with psoriasis. Please, print a handout to explain what it is, and schedule the appointment. And also, I generated a claim and bill it. And also, I have." I'm going to write for medication. It's going to need a prior authorization. Please generate the letter, right? So it's like all these agents that are going to do all these tasks that are involved with just a single patient visit.
Right, right, exactly. Like we have like one of the emails we sent out once I think everyone really liked was like for the example of a child maybe with atopic dermatitis. So maybe that child would not usually read their patient handout, but if you make it in, let's say, like minion voice or a kid voice or their
Right.
favorite character voice, so you can kind of
Huh.
do these things right on real time. Or let's say you want to do some different, maybe sequential therapy for psoriasis, where you want to write out, okay, I want you to do like the Dr. Koo method of clobetasol 2 days a week, and your calcipotriene, the Monday through Friday, or whatever you want to do. But instead of writing it all out, you kind of just tell it a few things, and it can write
Right.
out a handout. So the handout is like a very easy thing to do real time. But again, sometimes you might have a really difficult case of like, okay, this person has this, but this and this. Maybe create me a table of all of the biologics for psoriasis, consider this and this about this patient, and rate for me why this would be better or this one would be worse, like things like that too, where it can
Got it.
clinically help you work through what you're going to prescribe.
So I think it's a good time to introduce because you used it a few times and you just gave an example of the prompt. Okay. So
Mhm.
when we talk about AI, prompting is really, really key to your successful use of this technology. And I think that, we're used to searching Google, right? And prompt is like the words you actually put in as a direction for the AI. How are prompts different than just searching Google?
Yes, that's such a great question. So, because we're so used to searching Google, so a lot of people are actually using LLMs exactly like that. So that's such a great question. But the difference is, like a traditional Google, although now they have AI layers on top of it, but traditional Google was what we call a syntactic search. So you put words in, and it literally chops up the words. Like if you look up, chicken soup recipe, it looks for like chicken and soup and recipe, and comes up with some probability of websites that have those words kind of together. And then it tries to give you the top sites, and you have to go look into the sites and see if it's the right info. The LLMs or AI, it's a semantic search. So when you say, chicken soup recipe, it totally understands what you're trying to say. Like, okay, you're in a food category, you're talking about soups. Maybe I'll also show you stew recipes. So it understands the meaning of what you say. But you also, if you wanted to do a task for you, you need to give it more information, because traditionally we were used to Google kind of giving us some things, and then we were doing the work of going into those articles and seeing what's actually good for us and doing the mental work there. But you
Right.
can really prompt the LLM to give you the exact right answer. So we kind of talked about DermGPT, kind of knowing you're a dermatologist and all of that. But let's say you're outside of that system, you're in ChatGPT, Claude, any of the other LLMs. You want to tell it exactly who you are, what you want. You could say, I am act like a dermatologist, write me a patient handout, 8th grade level, like very detailed. You want to give it as much context as possible for it to do a good job. Because one thing I hear a lot from others is, yeah, I use these models and the answer wasn't that good. But it really depends on what you also tell it. It's kind of like I equate it to when you get a new medical assistant in clinic. If you spend a little bit of time
Right.
training them, they'll do what you need that day. But if you don't, you're just annoyed all day. You're like, they didn't open that right and they didn't put this in the right place, but we just didn't give them the context. So the more you give, it's kind of like, training your med student or your MA. The more you give it, the better your outcome's going to be.
Yeah, so prompt is king, right? You have to
Yeah.
know how to craft your prompt to get exactly what you want at high fidelity and high performance of the task that you want. Otherwise, you're going to be doing it again and again. And one thing that is cool is that you can copy and paste. So you don't have to, and you can save the prompts, right? Usually on all these AI tools, you can save your prompts or kind of finesse them, get to the right thing. And when we apply it now back into the clinic, does DermGPT, for example, can remember some of those prompts, or your agents that work in the behind the scenes can know, oh, this doctor, he's crazy. We know Dr. Koo says Monday to Friday, but he likes Monday to Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, he wants the clobetasol. So can the DermGPT figure that out for you?
In theory, for us, we try to not keep a lot of like data like that because we almost don't want it, or patient data. But
Okay,
it will be in your chat history, like your own profile. So if
gotcha.
there was if you look up on the left side and you see your chat history, if you had like an amazing prompt that worked really well like a week before, you can just go back to that same conversation. And keep asking it. You can also, like you said, save your prompts. If you have a prompt that you love and it just worked really, really well, you can save those. We often will, to our like listserv, will email out, top 3 prompts you should use, or top,
Yeah.
5 prompts you could use. And I usually recommend just having those around and saving them so you don't have to recreate the work. You can also, in the same context, if you didn't prompt very well and the answer's not great, keep going. You can keep. I think that's the other thing people do. They'll give up at the first answer, but you can
Yeah.
still keep fine tuning it as you keep the conversation going. So give it more parameters. Like, that's not exactly what I meant. I want this, and just keep the conversation going, and then you'll get a better and better output as you go.
So now, thank you, Faranak. This is like spectacular. Okay, so now we've learned about AI in general. We already feel like rock stars. We can really do this. We know what an agent is. We can kind of craft a good prompt. We even have DermGPT in our office. But are there other tools that maybe that you like, or your, let's say, your top 3 kind of tools that you use on a daily basis as a dermatologist, that really help you to move your life forward in any aspect? I don't know, preparing PowerPoint presentations, if you are in that sense, or anything else that you do that you really find AI useful.
Totally, yeah. I mean, we're right now we're on like the Riverside format, doing this recording, and there's so many of these types of different software that have AI enablement. So like when we record our podcast as well for like SF Derm, it creates a lot of AI clips for us, which is like amazing. So every software you have, just look for the AI feature on top of it that makes life easier. I would say like for presentations, Gamma.ai is great. You can put in your content and it just makes it fancier looking. So
Yeah.
that's a great route. I use Claude a lot, and I even use a lot of Claude Workspace, which is, you don't have to really vibe code or specifically be able to code, but it kind of makes the interface even easier for a non-coder, but you can create higher level things rather than just prompting. It can actually create your own agents, and things like that, within those formats. Then there's lots of other really cool apps. There's like Hey Gen. I love that a lot for just creating little demo videos. You basically give it a script and you can either choose an avatar or it can be yourself. You can be your own
Right.
digital twin, and it creates like really cool demos for you. But yeah, there are so many. I have like different AI things within my email now, which have been really helpful. I mean, I'm still really behind on emails, but I think it helps. It helps a tiny bit. For my
Sort it out.
kids,
Yeah.
like I've used a lot of for the moms out there. I mean, especially my boys, they had a lot of trouble just even reading and things like that. There's so many cool AI things out there because I'm like I'm not a teacher. That's a hard skill set,
Right.
but Claude will tell me what to do, and I've been able to like build little agents for them to play with around what they're interested in because they have like weird interests, like they like specifically maybe Pokemon and this other thing. I'm like, create me a little book at their level, and focus on these sounds that we're trying to do right now in reading. I mean, that's a very
That's
specific use
incredible.
case
Yeah,
that
no,
might
that's
not apply to
exactly.
everyone, but take whatever pain point you have in your life right now. If you apply AI to it, it will just make it, even if you know everything about it, like dermatology, it'll make it easier for you. Or it's a field you don't know anything about and you're racking your brain, it'll totally just give you like an expert opinion of,
Yeah.
how you can go about it.
And I think one jargon clarification here. You threw the term vibe code. Can you tell us what that means?
Yep, yep. So yeah, so vibe coding is this concept of, and of course, traditionally you needed to have engineers coding everything, hard coding, literally sitting there and writing out some
Yeah.
computer language of their choice. But now you can actually just either type in verbally or speak to, even speech to text, write out instructions on different kind of technologies, and it'll code. The AI will code for you. And so the crazy thing is not even just for us, normal people coding, but even engineers now that go to on job interviews. I've heard many times if they're not vibe coding, they might not get hired. Like even the companies want people who are
Yeah.
coding through AI. So that's a skill. I mean, I don't know if anyone has time to do it, but it's easier than you would think to
Yeah,
play around
so I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around this. So give me a second here. So vibe coding meaning that I can, there's like an AI website technology,
with.
whatever gadget, right? So okay, so I sit in front of it and I say, okay, I want to create an app
Hmm.
that can tell the weather, but I only want it to tell me the weather on Wednesdays in Florida and on Tuesdays in Hawaii because I'm just traveling back and forth like that. And
Yeah.
it'll just generate it, create the code, generate an app for that, and you could and I want it to have these kind of features and blah blah blah, right? And just speak to it, and it creates it.
Absolutely. Yep. You
Holy
could do
cow!
that. We could probably just do that right now. And I would have the
Right?
Florida
Okay. Yes. Can
travel,
you? Yeah.
agent available for you. Absolutely. Yeah. These are the things that really can be done. So we could just say, right now, let's create, a Learn Skin integrative dermatology module that has all the amazing things you guys talk about at your conferences, but not everyone is lucky enough to be at your conference. All these learning points, and you want someone to interact with it and ask it questions and just like live the integrative
Right.
life and Learn Skin kind of lifestyle. You could create that, which is kind of really cool ways and modalities of delivering education, or like you mentioned, the travel app, just these specific tools that can make life easier. I will say word of caution though. I don't know if you guys have seen things about like Open Claw and these different agent worlds that have come out. A lot of people are adopting these things really quickly, but basically they are things that will live on your computer and be able to read everything in all your files and all of that and do stuff for you. Now, to me, I'm like, wow, that sounds exciting. I don't know if we're quite there yet. Like, I don't know if I want external agents reading everything in my laptop,
Right.
just yet. So, it's exciting technology and there's still, but I would still kind of, put the safeguards around it. But creating simple agents like that, vibe
Yeah.
coding, absolutely.
Vibe coding. Okay, I got it. Okay, so last question for you, Faranak. What's the future? If there is, I don't even know if there are any limits to this, but what does the future look like 20, 30 years from now? Paint us a picture of what AI and dermatology looks like.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think the future is, and even sooner than that, like even 2 years or 5 years from now with the way the
Yeah,
technology
what
is.
do I know? 20 years. That's okay. Yeah, 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's going so fast. I think that's the crazy part. I do sort of see maybe a little bit more of maybe private practices or smaller groups even taking on technology faster than the really large groups can, just because of the layers of approval. But
Yeah.
I think overall, everyone's going to be using a lot more AI. That's going to save us a lot of time. It brings up the question of, are we being replaced? I think we're in a good place. I'm not worried about dermatologists at all. What I'm worried about is if we don't take reins here and build a technology that's good for us, because again, we're less than 2% of the house of medicine. So when technology is built, we're not the first people that the technologists or the hospital are thinking about. So a lot of times we get handed down technology that's kind of good for primary care, and then we have to kind of mold it into, it's going to kind of make it fit for us. But I think, as long as we take the reins and we're building technology that's actually good for us, we're safe. Dermatologists are going to just do better and better, and then decrease the amount of time we spend on this extra stuff so we can go to the more complex layers that we want to. So I'm really excited for that. I think this is definitely one of the times where things are changing for the better with the insertion of technology.
Unbelievable. Well, you heard it here, Raja. If you're not back quickly, we're going to replace you with an AI agent. So come back
Yes,
quickly.
yes, we
Okay.
should create an AI avatar, a
A
digital twin
co-host.
of a digital twin co-host for the days when Raj not here, and it'll be like he's here.
Yes, exactly. Well, Raja, my friend, you are irreplaceable. And so are you, Faranak. I mean, unbelievable. What a great leader in our field. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode and for everything that you do. I really think it's cool. I think it's innovative. I think you're really like 3 steps ahead of the curve, and we'll just try to keep up with you, okay, Faranak? So thank you again. If you
Thank
want to
you.
check out DermGPT, I guess just use that old-fashioned thing called Google. Look it up and find DermGPT. And Faranak, thank you for everything, and I hope to see you again at the IDS.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. But if conversations like this get you all excited, that's exactly what the Integrative Dermatology Symposium is all about.
And I'm all excited about it. The 9th annual Integrative Dermatology Symposium will once again bring together clinicians, researchers, and educators who are shaping the future of dermatology. And this year, there'll be a focus on precision, regeneration, and whole person skin health. It's happening from August the 20th to the 22nd at the Grand Hyatt Indian Wells in Palm Springs, California.
IDS is where evidence meets application. Through expert-led sessions, real-world case discussions, and meaningful collaboration, or in plain English, IDS is where you get to talk to a whole bunch of people who are equally skin-obsessed.
I'm also equally skin obsessed. If you want to be a part of the largest community in integrative dermatology, use the code PODCAST15 for 15% off registration at integrativedermatologysymposium.com.
That's integrativedermatologysymposium.com. We can't wait to see you there.